So we've got about 25 minutes left in the mash, and I'm just going to get the BREWHA 3-in-1 ready for the boil. The 3-in-1 is the boil. We've got the heating element in there. It's got the jacket for the chilling and for the regulation of the temperature during fermentation, and of course it's a conical fermenter so you can ferment in it. I just take the heating element. I'm using a 4500 watt heating element. I've found that that is plenty vigorous of a boil for this volume of wort, and we have a NEMA 1450 plug on the end. This is the kind of plug that is common issue for electric stoves throughout North America, and all heating elements that BREWHA sells have wiring, heavy duty, heavy gauge, 10 gauge wiring, so that they can handle the 240 volts. Standard issue for the BREWHA elements is a 120 volt plug, so that you can use it in a basement suite or apartment sized kitchen like this with no problems. But if you want to switch it over to 240 volt, that's no problem. You just take the 120 volt plug off, and then you put a solid plug, 240 volt plug like this on, and then you can use it in your electric clothes dryer outlet or your electric range outlet, whatever you have in your basement or the garage, wherever you're going to be setting this up. So you just take the heating element, it just slides in like that with a silicone gasket in between it. Just close it off, tighten it up, and that's ready to go. For the hops in this, what I'm going to be using are these mash screen, or these hop baskets rather. They each take about 1 ounce of hops, so depending on however many hops that you want to add, they just sit over the side of the boil kettle, and the constant swirling motion of the wort as it's boiling mixes the wort, is constantly turning it past the hops, so you're getting good hop utilization in there. BREWHA equipment was designed with 3 things in mind. The first was to make the brewing process more simplified, and we're constantly striving, we're coming up with new designs and new vessels to simplify it for the brewer. We want to be able to brew in a small kitchen, like in a basement suite or an apartment. We don't want to have an elaborate setup, so we're constantly trying to simplify the process. One example is combining the boil kettle with the conical fermenter. That if you can reduce 2 pieces into one and still produce great quality beer, then why not? The second benefit that the boil kettle helps with, and what we try to do, is to make the sanitation, good sanitation, easier. And by boiling inside the conical fermenter, then you are effectively sanitizing the inside of the fermenter so that it's ready for fermentation. We believe that single-handedly bad sanitation is the greatest reason for poor beer, poor tasting beer. So any way that we can do to try to make it so that you as a brewer is able to improve your sanitation, then we'd like to do that. The third reason, of course, what we try to do here at BREWHA is to make electrifying all of your equipment much easier. Just backing up to sanitation, what we like to do, the fermenter itself doesn't need to be sanitized because the boil is going to take care of that. And the hop baskets that we use, they don't need to be sanitized, obviously, because they're going to be in the boil as well. What we do recommend doing, though, is for the valves, if you want just that added assurance that your fermentation is going to be perfectly sanitary, is to take your bucket that you use to transport all of your brew equipment in, and just put some powdery brewery wash into it with some hot water, and just disassemble your sanitary valves, pull the ball out, and just throw them in there 30 minutes prior to when you're going to be needing it. And it just gives you that added assurance. The heat inside there is going to likely cure anything, but because the sanitary valves are a little bit removed from the main vessel itself, then this just gives added assurance in it that they're going to be sanitary. The other thing that I like to do is I like to keep this valve here where I'm going to be racking out my beer at the end of fermentation and into my keg. I'd like to not use that at all. So after I've sanitized it here, I'm going to install it, and I'm not going to touch it at all. Removing any of the hot break from the boil once the boil is complete, or any of the yeast, is going to happen out the bottom pour. I'm just going to drain it out the bottom. This one's not going to get used at all, and that just ensures that in any of the exit area which is exposed to air, that I'm not getting any kind of contamination in it, so that when I transfer it to my keg, I'm not picking that up and bringing it over to the keg. So I'm going to finish installing these valves, and then we're going to start transferring the mash over to the boil kettle. So here the sparge water is being added into the top of the mash tun. It's keeping the water level about an inch above the grain bed. The water is coming from the hot liquor tank, and it's being pumped over into the mash tun. And the wort is leaving out the bottom of the mash tun, and it is being heated up by the heating element, so it's leaving the bottom of the mash tun at 75 degrees Celsius, and it's being passively fed over into the bottom of the 3-in-1 boil kettle, and it's filling up the boil kettle slowly. So we finished transferring the wort from the mash tun over to the 3-in-1 boil kettle, and the hot break is subsiding. We're using a 4500 watt heating element with 240 volts going into it, and we have a NEMA 1450 plug on it, which is the standard electric kitchen range plug in North America. And you can see that it's a very good boil coming out of the BREWHA 3-in-1. We'll come back and put the hops in a few minutes. We got 3 ounces of Fuggles that are going to go in. It's an English style porter we're creating here. And the 3 hop baskets have been added. They're stainless steel. Each one has about an ounce of hops in it. And looking into it, we can see that there's good movement inside each basket of the boiling wort going through the basket, exposing the hops to the wort to pull all the acids out. So we've completed the boil. We've unplugged the heating element down at the bottom. We've pulled our hop baskets out, both the bittering or the boil hops and the finishing or the aroma hops. And you can see we've left the top valve open here, and there's a bit of steam still coming out. Now we're just ready to chill it. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn the cold water on. It's going to go into the jacket. Now in the wintertime in Vancouver, our municipal water is about 10 degrees Celsius. It's probably true for large parts of North America. So chilling the wort now in wintertime is no problem at all. It gets there reasonably quick, probably 20 to 30 minutes. So we're just going to turn it on, we're going to start the water, and then we're all done. So that's it. That's brewing with the mash tun and the 3-in-1, and a hot liquor tank just providing the sparge water. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to send them to us using the form on the Contact Us page. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.